We're going to construct a polychromatic direct composite veneer and light cured composite on this typodont with using virtually no finishing. This will save you 5 to 10 minutes of chair time on your next veneer. We start off after anesthetizing the patient. We then take an impression with a clear bite registration material. These materials can be seen on my website. They're non-proprietary materials. There's about 6 of them in the United States. We take an impression using this clear material covering the entire tooth we want to make a veneer on. This material, since it's a bite registration material, sets up in about 1.5 minutes in the mouth, so by the time it's set, you haven't lost any chair time. When this material is set, you remove it and wait for anesthesia to be complete, and then you'll start prepping your tooth. Make sure that you get this material beyond the gingiva and onto the other teeth to act as indexes. Here the material is set. We're going to take it off. It's just an impression material, so it pops off just like an impression. And then we're going to take a close look at it. We don't want any bubbles at the surface of this material and the tooth. You see what looks like to be a bubble, but that's inside the material, so that's not going to affect how this material contours our composite. We have now prepped our tooth. We have a standard veneer composite prep. Notice we've cut back this tooth to make room for the composite we're going to place into the clear custom matrix. We now have 3 different translucencies of composite of the desired shade. We're now inserting a incisal shaded composite into the incisal portion of this clear custom matrix. We need to condense that into position so that it picks up all the surface detail that this impression picked up when we made it of the surface of the tooth. We taper this incisal translucent material towards the mid-body, and here you can very easily see the incisal material tapered towards the mid-body of the tooth. We're then going to take an enamel shade, which has a little bit less translucency, place it over the unset incisal shade, and condense it into the incisal shade, tapering it down to the cervical third of the tooth. It's important that we condense this and shape it to the tooth so it picks up all the surface detail that this impression picked up when we made it just 15 minutes ago. So here is the unset incisal material and the unset enamel material tapered down towards the cervical third of the tooth. Now we're taking the cervical shade, which is a less translucent composite. We're going to inject this into the cervical area of the tooth and again condense it into the impression so it picks up all the surface detail that this impression picked up of the original tooth. And after we get through condensing this into position, we're going to get ready to place it back in the patient's mouth so that this material will then be bonded to the tooth. So here we can see 3 different translucencies of composite. Now we're going to take some Teflon tape, put it between the prepped tooth and the unprepped teeth. This will keep the composite from sticking to the unprepped teeth, especially after we acid etch the prepped tooth. So if we had a central incisor to the left of this central incisor, we would also put Teflon tape around that. Here's our custom matrix. We put it back into position over this tooth. It only fits in one position because it's an impression made of this tooth just about 15 or 20 minutes ago. And I hope you remember that we actually, when we made this impression, had the impression extend over to the adjacent tooth and onto the gingiva. This acts as indexes for this material. We then put pressure on the tooth for about, or on the clear custom matrix for about 5 to 10 seconds, forcing the composite into the surface that was just previously etched and rinsed. And now we're light curing for the normal amount of time, mainly from the labial surface, but also from the lingual surface and the incisal surface. This is done for the normal amount of time so that the composite is completely cured. This is a fairly thin layer of composites, about a millimeter reduction from the labial surface. So we're curing through a clear custom matrix and curing about a millimeter thickness of composite. So we're now going to take off the clear custom matrix, and we'll get to see exactly what this hard, smooth composite looks like that we made with 3 different translucencies of composite. And you can see there's a slight change in lightness and translucency from incisal edge to cervical edge. We'll take out the Teflon tape, which easily comes out. It doesn't bond to anything. And if there's any flash, we'll remove that mainly with a number 12 blade. We want to be careful not to, use a burr that would bar the adjacent teeth. So a number 12 blade works very well to remove flash. Here we can take a look at the various aspects of this veneer. Notice there's been no finishing except for removal of flash with a number 12 blade. So you can again see the amount of time that you save because you do not need to do finishing with a burr or sandpaper discs.